Hello, everyone. Kanisha Grayson, founder and CEO of The Art of Applying, here with one of our amazing clients here to share her story. Her name is Rachel, and thank you for joining us today, Rachel. Good morning.
Hey, Kanisha, it's great to be here.
Yes, wonderful. So, Rachel, let's jump right into the great news. What are we celebrating today?
We are celebrating my offers to three schools, all three schools that I applied to. I got into the MPA ID program at HKS, the
Mhm.
MPP program at the University of Chicago Harris, as well as the MPP program at Oxford.
Excellent. Wonderful. So we have 100% success rate for you
Yes.
with all your schools. Amazing. I'm very excited for you. So one thing I also want to clarify is, was there any scholarship or fellowship money given?
Yes, there was for the University of Chicago Harris. There
Okay.
was.
Do you want, or do you feel comfortable sharing how much it
Yeah,
was?
there was
Oh,
around 25,000.
okay. Wonderful. And was that 25,000 1 year that's renewable or just total?
I believe it was one, I believe it was total.
Okay, wonderful. Great. All right. So we know your great news, Rachel, which is amazing 100% success rate across three amazing policy schools. And I also just really want to emphasize and extra congratulate you because the MPA ID at Harvard Kennedy School is extraordinarily difficult to get into. In my professional experience, it has been harder to get into the MPA ID at HKS than a Harvard Business School.
Oh, wow.
So we have people that apply with us to Harvard Business School and the MPA ID, and sometimes get into Harvard Business School, but not the MPA ID. So it
Wow.
is very, very competitive, and it's an extraordinary program. The other ones are too, but that MPA ID is like, chef's kiss. So congrats to you.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing to hear that from you, and just another uh something to just celebrate. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Rachel, tell us a little bit about your applicant profile. Be as specific as you feel comfortable being. The people that are listening to this and watching this video, they're in that anxious, hungry place for information that's real, true, and reliable. So, they want to know things like your age, ethnicity, maybe a little bit about socioeconomic class, how you grew up, maybe a little bit of family context,
Yeah.
your where you went to college. You can either say the exact place or you can say the kind of place, what you studied, your GPA, professional background, that just boom, 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 so that they can be like, okay, if that's her, that's similar to me, and maybe it can happen for me
Yeah.
too. So share whatever you feel like sharing.
Yeah, of course. So I grew up in the Bay Area. I grew up in Fremont, California, to be exact. And I went to undergrad at UC Berkeley, where I studied business administration at Haas. And all throughout that time, I was just very passionate about social impact. So immediately out of college, I worked at a nonprofit organization that provides financial service to underserved communities. And that's sort of my high level career path. In terms of sort of GPA at that time, I think had a 3.6, so not
Hmm.
super high. And that was something I was very, very nervous about going applying to grad school in the first place. And maybe we could talk a little bit about that later
Hmm.
on. And then in terms of just my GRE score, I started the application process in 2018, and then sort of took a little bit of a break and then went back into it. So at the very end of that whole process, I ended up getting a 75th percentile for verbal,
Hmm.
but around 88th percentile for for the quant portion, and then a 5.5 for the analytics part.
Okay, got it. Do you feel comfortable sharing the numbers? And it's okay if you
Yes,
prefer not to.
yes, I'm trying to remember. I believe it's 158 for quant, 167 for, sorry, 167 for quant, 158 for verbal, and 5.5 for the writing
Okay,
analytics.
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Good. Okay, and so that's very helpful. Thank you for sharing that. And then did you share your age? It might help people to
Oh,
know.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm 28. as of today. But
Yeah.
when I first was thinking about it, I was around 26, 25.
Okay. All right. So from 25, 26 to 28. Wonderful. And so let's talk about what the application process was like way back in 2018. 25-year-old Rachel. What was
Mhm.
it like? What was hard? What wasn't working in your application process?
Yeah, I think for me, I just had such low confidence. As I mentioned, I felt like I had a really low GPA. I was constantly around high achieving individuals. And I just didn't really know where to get started. And so I tried to scour the internet, go on Reddit forums, just try to hit people up on LinkedIn to get as much information as I can. And while those helped, I felt like I didn't have that structure. And so that's why the art of applying was so appealing to me, because it seemed like there was that structure, and it seemed like you guys had such an amazing track record with your students and amazing resources and just knowledge to share. So that was that was something that really attracted me to the art of flying.
Okay, wonderful. And so you mentioned earlier you had a 3.6 GPA and that you were worried about that. Tell us just a little bit more
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I think I was worried about that because I felt like, especially if you're trying to get to Harvard, right? You should be getting a 3.9, 4.0 at the very least, right? So I was just so nervous about that. And I think during my undergrad, I tried out a lot of different classes, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So there was a bunch of organic chemistry courses I take, bio classes, and I
Mhm.
ended up going into business. And so it kind of lowered my GPA. And I didn't want that to be a reflection of my academic ability, more so than it was my time to sort of explore at such a
Mhm.
young age. And so, yeah, I think just because I wanted my next graduate school program or experience to be very high achieving, I was worried that that 3.6 wouldn't get me there.
Understood, understood. Thank you for sharing about that. Okay, and so you said that you found the fact that we had a great track record and our structure and the resources really appealing. How did you find the art of applying? And when you did find us, what inspired you to reach out?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think I was just scouring the internet and I came across your guys's site, and
Mhm.
there's all these testimonials, and I would sort of then look at who was saying these things, if this was actually a legitimate organization. And then I looked you up, and I saw that you were actually you this was an actual business. There
Yes.
were so many students going through it. And then I think I just reached out just wanting to learn a little bit more about what the process was like. And it was super easy just to reach out, and it was such a quick back and forth response. So I felt like comfortable, to at
Mhm.
least inquire about it. Mhm.
Absolutely. So we started working together June 2018. So that is 3 years ago. So it
Yeah.
might be hard to remember, but from what you can remember, what was your experience like on the breakthrough call?
Yeah. That breakthrough call was, I think, kind of sealed the deal for me, because I it just felt like you guys had everything. You guys knew exactly what needed to get done, for me, and you guys were asking me questions about what I wanted to do, instead of what would look great on paper. And so I
Mhm.
think that was really key and critical, because it kind of shows through your personal essays and all these other things that you need to do. And so I felt like it was very personalized versus just like I don't know, a really basic cookie cutter program.
Yes, 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 yes. And I hear that phrase a lot, like people saying, I'm not a cookie cutter applicant. I don't want a cookie cutter approach. And I
Yeah.
really agree that we are able to combine structure and consistency based on what we know works, based on like 11 years of working with people, but
Mhm.
then also that really customized hands-on approach of, crafting a strategy for each individual applicant. So, Rachel, you have your breakthrough call, you enjoy the call. At the end of the call, we invite you to work with us in the application accelerator. We remind you of the tuition. And we give you the decisiveness discount, or we offer it if you sign up, on the call. Was it scary to make the leap to decide to work with us? What fears, doubts, or concerns did you have about making that investment, in the tuition?
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know if it was scary. I think it was just like, this is a life decision I need to make that could really make or break me. So I think for me, it was a little bit like, am I going all in on this or not? If I'm going in on this, I don't want to have any regrets looking back on this, the next 3 years or whatever, whenever this process ends. I want to make sure that I've done everything possible. I've checked off everything. Um, and taken every single opportunity I could to make it to the next level. And I felt like
Hmm.
not taking the opportunity with the art of applying would have negatively impacted my opportunity to apply to these schools in the best way possible.
Powerful, powerful. And so, what was your favorite part about working with us these 3 years?
Yeah. I just love how responsive you guys are, honestly. Using Basecamp, because I mean, everyone has crazy schedules, and it's just been so easy to drop in a message and just hear back from you guys really quickly. Same, and just having customer support on more the logistical, administrative side to actually working with consultants, and those consultants helping out with the essays. I think the essay part, it has been just life changing for me in this process, because I'm not a I guess I don't think of myself as a great writer or anything, and I just felt like working with the consultants have they really highlighted certain parts of my life story that I didn't really think about before.
Oh, that's so beautiful. So, if you could change something about your application process, if anything, what would you change?
Yeah. You mean with the art of applying, or just how?
Just it could be either your experience with us, or it could even just be about your mindset. So, for example, sometimes people wish they had started earlier. Sometimes people wish they had worried less about their results they were
Mhm.
going to get. Some people wish they had emphasized the test less because they obsessed about the test. So, those are
Mhm.
some of the things that some I hear a lot.
Yeah, I think for me, definitely having that low self-confidence early on. Um, that's something I wish I didn't have. I feel like just going through this process, there is a playbook for, having low GPA, having a low GRE score, having, I don't some experience that might not relate to the program you're applying to. I feel like you guys had that equipped. So I felt like, I think initially maybe I shouldn't have had that mindset that really would have stopped me from actually applying. Because I had a lot of doubts. And I think that's why I applied so kind of late in the game, just because I had that low self-confidence.
Understood. I'm so glad that you shared that and that you use that phrase. It's because I may not have even applied. I see
Mhm,
that quite a bit, and it's really unfortunate where really high potential applicants get so psyched out about the things that are imperfect about their profile that
mhm,
they, no matter how prepared they are, how interesting their story is, they actually don't even end up applying, or they delay, delay, delay. It totally worked out for you. And I remember you and I had several conversations on the all client group Q&A calls around, pros and cons of waiting a year, waiting 2 years to apply.
yeah,
And in your particular case, I remember very clearly saying, with your profile, just looking at your resume, the work experience you have, and the opportunity in front of you, nothing bad is going to happen for you with waiting. You're just going to age like a fine wine and just like become an even
yeah,
better applicant. And I think that's exactly what happened. But
mhm,
for some
I
other people,
agree.
it's like, you need to go now.
Mm,
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that kind of
yeah,
your
that was
journey.
yeah, I mean, I think speaking with you about that really helped make my decision in waiting a year, honestly, because I had this amazing opportunity at my current company to do some really groundbreaking things. And I was sort of at that crossroads of, if I apply now, there might be a lower chance of getting in versus waiting a year, really boosting up my resume and work experience and getting in. And then sort of to tie sort of my mindset, emotional mindset at that time was just like, oh my God, I'm going to be really old going to grad school. Um, and I think it was so helpful just speaking with you about just where I should be going, and that it's okay to be a little bit older going to grad school. You just know exactly, you just know more about what you want to do and what you want to get out of it. And I think it's been a blessing to wait a year because that's exactly what happened. My story was so much stronger. Why I wanted to attend the school was so much stronger. And it just also gave me so much life clarity of what I wanted to even do. So I'm really, really appreciative to have had that year to myself and to also have the opportunity to take a few more classes on the side and like really improve my GRE score.
Beautiful. And my favorite part about your story with the waiting part, Rachel, is that you didn't wait to reach out for help. So even though our conversation started 3 years ago, you didn't say, "Oh, I'm not gonna apply for a year," and then not sign up. You actually signed up, started working with us, and then we had that point of connection. You with your consultant, you with me, you with
Mhm.
other clients and our alumni network, and then you decided, you know what, I am going to wait a year. So you were plugged in, even though you were kind
Yeah.
of off working on your stuff. And I love that, because a lot of times what happens is people will reach out, they'll have their quick call or their breakthrough call, and then they're like, you know what, I'm going to wait a year. And they say they're going to wait a year, but they don't actually do anything in that
Mhm.
year that strategically
Yeah.
moves their application process or their applicant profile forward. Whereas you, like, that was a powerful year for you. And I think
Mhm.
part of it is that you had a plan, because you started working with us and we're like, I think I might want to take advantage of this work opportunity. But you knew exactly what courses you needed to take. You knew
Yeah.
exactly what test scores you needed to hit. You knew exactly what schools you wanted to apply to, so that year off was really well spent, instead of just kind of deferring your life and your dreams for a year.
Yeah, it was crucial for me. And I remember just being on those client calls, and one-on-one sessions with you guys. It just was like, okay, you need to take these, and these courses to really boost up your application and be a very competitive applicant. And that always stuck in the back of my mind. And so when I had the opportunity to take those classes, I just immediately took them without really even thinking about it because I knew it would make me a stronger applicant. And same with yeah, just the essays. I think we started a draft or two on the essays. We put a pause on it, and then when I went back to kind of review it, I was like, oh, there's still a structure there, but now I'm going to add a few more new things from my
Hmm.
new experiences, and so it's good to have something to start with.
Absolutely. So, what would you say to someone who's watching this video or listening to this interview who says, okay, this program sounds great, like good for Rachel, but I want to make sure I want to just like crush the GRE, and then I'll reach out for help and to start working together?
I would say just just start with just go with you guys first, like don't wait, because there is a whole GRE component and the whole support that you guys have that's
Yeah.
been so helpful for me, and also having a whole sort of group coalesce around studying together and having other consultants who are GRE experts to come and help and guide them. So I remember that time I was extremely, um, yeah, that was something I was very concerned about, my GRE scores, because I hadn't taken a standardized test in years. And
Hmm.
when I first took it, I sort of went blindly in, not really studying, got a pretty bad score. And that also got me in the spiral, low self confidence, didn't want to apply. But then once we started working together, I saw that there's a whole support track for the GRE. And so, again, like it was a great way for me at least to see that there are so many different parts of the application, and I definitely don't think that you should wait to get started on working with you guys just because you haven't taken the GRE, because there's a lot of other stuff that you can be doing as well, including the personal essay part and just creating that story for who you are.
Absolutely. And what have you learned about yourself And how have you grown as a result of going through this application process together and also your own independent, work?
Yeah, I felt like the past 2, 3 years have just been an intense soul searching experience because the questions that are being asked around, like, who are you? Like, why do you want to apply to this? Seems very basic and simple. But when you really want to sell your story, you have to also believe it and you also have to um, aspire to it. So I think, again, like a year ago when I just didn't, maybe a year or two when we first started, I wasn't sure where we were. It was sort of hard for me to write that essay. But
Hmm.
having that year off to really think about what I wanted to do, it was a lot easier to write. And I had so many different versions of it too. And so it was just about combing through and kind of copy and pasting and putting things together. So yeah, I think I learned so much about what I wanted to do and just to persevere. Because
Hmm.
again, like that lack of self-confidence, one aspect, GPA being low, GRE was really bad at that time, not having like that great experience that I wanted to be really competitive. I think there's strategies to handle each one of those. And so I think that's something I learned, is just to persevere and just give yourself the time to kind of figure that out.
Oh, beautifully said. And so we've talked about how you've grown so far. Now I want to talk about the future. So now that you've achieved these amazing 100% success rate results, what is going to change, improve, or open up in your life or career, having these options and these choices and getting, wherever you decide to go? I have my preference,
Yes.
but what's going to open up in your life and career, and how does it all change now that no matter what, you're going to an amazing, amazing top graduate school?
Yeah, it changes everything, honestly. I for me, my passion has been international development and trying to improve financial access to underserved communities. And now I have these wonderful institutions that I can make really strong connections with faculty, students who are all very like-minded, and also, the diversity component of it as well. But I just feel like it's just taking me to a next level. I think before I was sort of like on a straight, sort of like linear path, but I think it's sort of exponential growth now, where I can see myself really excelling and really learning a lot about the international development space.
Oh, beautiful. I'm so excited for you and the way you're going to make the world a better place in a scaled, sustainable way. So thank you for being you and for like having the vision that you have. Please keep going. And so, speaking of keeping going, Rachel, what's next for you in your application process? Because we're still together all this next month. You're still a client of the Art of Applying. What will we be working on next?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just applying to more scholarships and working on that financial aid appeal letter to some of the schools. Yeah, because again, it's a really, the financial part of all this is pretty crucial, and it's going to be pretty burdensome once I graduate. So I want to make sure I'm doing everything I can right now to get that scholarship, to get as much financial aid as I can.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to say to you and everyone listening, Rachel, is to not despise small scholarships, because there's some really compelling math that I'm going to oversimplify just to make it easy, which is basically that every $10,000 that you can get in scholarship money, even just $10,000, is $100 less a month you'll pay in student loans for 10 years.
Mm.
So even though $10,000 might feel like a drop in the bucket, that's totally a help, right? That's a really fancy dinner every month for 10
Yeah,
years, right?
yeah,
So
definitely.
we want to go after the big money, and we'll talk about some of that after this call. But then we also just want to go after those little ones too, because 10K could pay for, half a
Mhm.
year of housing in
Yeah,
Cambridge or Chicago or whatever.
Yeah, and if you get multiple 10Ks, they add up. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay, so I would love to hear just about how you celebrated. And if you haven't celebrated yet, then this is my call to be like, Rachel, time to celebrate. So who are some of the people you told, and how did they react, and how have you been celebrating?
Yeah, well, the first person I told was my dad, because I'm currently living with him right now in Taiwan during COVID. And so he's the first person I told. It was 7 a.m. I jumped out of bed, and kind of woke him up. And so he was the first person. And obviously, we FaceTimed my mom, who's back in the States, told my brother. So basically, immediate family.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it was great to just have that support. They're extremely excited for me. And the way that I personally celebrated was I went on a yoga and meditation retreat in the mountains. So that was something
Beautiful.
to sort of treat myself and just like take a beat from everything, because I didn't realize I was going 110% until I actually got, all three of those offer letters, and then was like, oh my God, I can finally breathe now. And so
Absolutely.
it was really awesome to take that time for myself.
Oh, that's so exciting. I would love to just hear, where you went for your retreat. Was it Vipassana? I know that that's very popular among the clients. Yeah, what kind of
No,
yoga was
definitely.
it?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't Vipassana.
Okay.
I it was mostly focused on a meditation actually.
Mhm.
And so I did it in an eco village in Tainan, which is sort of the southern part of Taiwan.
Oh,
Yeah.
it didn't even occur to me that you did this in Taiwan. That is so
Yeah.
cool. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were in beautiful like mountains on a farm. Like it was really great.
Oh, I love it. So, clearly, Taiwan is not a teeny tiny place, but we do actually have one of our consultants is in Taiwan.
Oh,
Yes, and so I would love for you to connect with her. You may not know her, but her name is Leslie, and she is Harvard Kennedy School and Harvard Law School.
oh,
So I would really love for y'all to connect. So we'll offline get you two connected so before you leave.
awesome.
Well, wonderful. Is there anything else that you would want to share, Rachel? Something you might want to say to people who maybe your fellow Berkeley alumni who might be watching this excitedly, wondering if they can apply, or people who have less than perfect GPAs, or one concern that we haven't actually talked about, but sometimes our clients of Asian descent are really worried that like they're in a super competitive group and they're just like, how am I going to stand out in the most competitive group? Anything you want to say to any of those groups of people?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that if you feel like there's one aspect of your, or even several aspects of your application that you feel very concerned about, I don't think that should stop you from applying, because there's so many different strategies out there that you can do to boost up other parts of your application. And that's one thing that when I first started without your guys' help, I was extremely worried about.
Mhm.
But after seeing that there are so many strategies, it there definitely is a way. And I think I'm sort of an example of that. And so yeah, I would say just don't feel don't feel that lack of self-confidence. Just go for it, even if it's not perfect, because they look at the application very, very holistically.
Oh, beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing your story today, Rachel. It is going to inspire and encourage many, many people. And it has just been a joy to spend my morning and I believe your evening
Mhm.
just talking about your journey. Congratulations. And I'm excited for our offline talk about
Yeah,
scholarships, financial aid, and then getting you connected with Leslie.
yeah, that sounds great. Thank you, Kanisha.